While we're doing this, I'm going to say, on behalf of everybody in SHJ, a big thank you to the Birmingham Temple for their wonderful hospitality. And Jeff Thaler. Also, let's not forget Ezra Donner, who played beautiful music for us here and is a highly talented musician. And I would like to ask, who here has been a congregation president? Would you please stand? Please stand if you have been Please stand if you are a big thank you to all of you. You are where the rubber hits the road. I just invented that phrase, by the way. Who would like to be a future congregation president? Please stand up. Libbiano, yes, hey. And Ron Schwartz, thank you. Never be. Okay. Listen, we're going to cut this short. I'd like to do this in a more individual way. But you know, the group that put this together, the task force, Mary, could you come up here and collect some certificates for everybody in the SHJ task force? The SHJ at 50 Planning Committee, the world's best task force, in recognition of organizing a historic weekend. Get the heck up here. And, you know, I don't know if they're still here.
Richard.
Yes.
We need some context for some new folks. Richard has a certificate fetish.
Actually, no, I gave no certificates the last time. But it's in the program, and I didn't write the program. Miriam, are Kathy and Jennifer still here? World's best support staff, Kathy Cheerhart and Jennifer Grodsky. And you know, when Paul Golin joined us a few years ago, it was 7, 8 years ago now, Paul? It only seems like 7, 8, okay. I gave him a certificate, most likely to succeed, to certify that he's on the path here. World's Best Executive Director, awarded to Paul Golin in recognition of dedication to excellence. Thank you, Paul. This is grammatically a little awkward, but World's Best Inspiring Rabbi, who the heck would that be? Rabbi Miriam Jarris, dedication to excellence. I want to say a few things. I want to say a few things about just a few parts of it. Thank you, Miriam. It was such a thrill to have Rabbi Sivan Moss here. And Sivan, thank you so much for reminding us or informing us that diversity is part of Jewish tradition. That's a valuable thing to know. And along with that, you know, other ways in which, for me, I heard an undercurrent, or not, or maybe an overcurrent, of mindfulness of Jewish culture. And mindfulness is being aware, consciously aware of what your culture is, and being aware of Jewish culture, the culture of SHJ, and the culture of our several congregations. Those are all important. I spent 10 years studying the Amish, and one of the reasons the Amish are still around when hundreds of other sects like them disappeared is the Amish are uncommonly mindful of their culture, and there's a real lesson in that. And so what else did I want to say? I can't find anything that I wrote down. Yeah. And then, yes, another reminder about the survey. I see a lot of people have handed them in. They can still be handed in. They can be handed in at the registration desk. So, and listen, as we go home, I hope we will all build on what we've heard. We didn't hear very much, right? So no, but we heard a lot, and I hope people will take a lot of what we've learned back home to work to further build your communities. And a few other things. Thank you to that wonderful rabbi panel that reminded us that the stories in the Bible and in the Torah, although they may not pass the tests of evidence and so on, are still part of Jewish culture. The Jewish religion is part of Jewish culture, so that's important in education and so on. And I hope we're all inspired that we will go shine our light more. I have another fetish about press releases. Just look at how newsworthy so much of what happened here was. We need press coverage when we do these kinds of things. And likewise in your home congregations. I also want to thank the people who, is Sarah Levin still here? Sarah, thank you for coming in from the Secular Coalition. And that reminds us that on many, a lot of action words have been used here. Cause, movement, energizing, mobilizing. And on many causes, it behooves us to work in partnership with other organizations that have similar goals. And thank you to Americans United for kind of elevating their recognition of us. So I think, Libby, I'm going to pick on you again. Libby had a neat idea. Every one of our liturgy books should be in a Hillel library on the college campuses. I wonder if we could get somebody to.
Should be in the college libraries, not the Hillel libraries.
Okay, should be on college campuses. Maybe both. Okay, thank you very much.
Public library.
What's that?
Public library.
Well, I think we have limited means to do all of these things. I'm going to turn it over to Paul for a little wrap-up. Thanks, Paul.
There is a super positive, optimistic force for Humanistic Judaism, and his name is Richard Logan. Thank you so much, Richard.
I'm going to leave before I get embarrassed anymore.
We try to out-embarrass each other. One more logistical note. This is the end of our conference, but we're going to set up a video camera in front of our step and repeat, a phrase I really never thought I'd be using a lot of, but step and repeat is that background that has our logos on it. So afterwards, if you're so inspired to say lovely things about us, or horrible things about us if you want, right? But you don't want. Just head out over and stand in front of that background, and we'd love to get some video testimonial from you on anything that you want to share. So this conference was obviously the result of a lot of work from a very small staff, a lot of support from a dedicated group of volunteer professionals, but also a tremendous amount of travel on many of your parts, and an expenditure of costs on your behalf. It took a lot. And so my question is, what was the point? And I think we should acknowledge that we can feel that this should have some kind of meaning, and I can think of two answers to the question of what do we hope will come from this? So on the one hand, yesterday I started my talk by discussing being in the moment. And that literally feels like it was a week ago, and it was yesterday morning. And I would come back to that idea that if this was good for you, if it had meaning, and if you connected to other people, and if you got something out of it, then that was the point. And it was good. And when we do the next thing, that's the point of that as well. And we go from there. So on the one hand, just experiencing something good is the point. And a group that does this in some ways is Chabad. And when I bring up the Chabad Lubavitch, which I think most of you know, but they are this Orthodox outreach group. And I brought them up in some of our communities, and then afterwards someone inevitably comes up to me outraged. So let me just say, I disagree with them on everything they say, but their methodology is correct in a lot of ways. And we and all the other streams of Judaism can learn from it. And in fact, we have, and we do. And when Rabbi Adam Shalom does kids' books reading at his local bookstore, that is in some ways using the methodology of Chabad, of going out to where people are and serving their needs where they are. But what is driving them, their mission, is the here and now, the moment when they stop me on the street and ask, "Are you Jewish?" And I hesitate for that moment, not because I don't know whether I'm Jewish or not, but because I don't know whether I really want to go through the motions. The last time I did it, I was actually sitting in a Starbucks, and the guy came up to me. I guess I look Jewish to him. And he asked, I forget what holiday it was, he asked me to say a blessing. And I really resisted in a lot of, I told him who I was, what I do, resisted in some ways. He asked me to put on a yarmulke. I told him I'm going to do this as an expression of my cultural identity or Judaism. Like, I was trying to convert him a little bit too. But the reason he was doing what he was doing was not in the hopes that I would get so much joy out of it that I would then come to his Shabbat services and then enjoy that so much that I would then become a dues-paying member of his community and then serve on his board the next week. He was doing it for that moment because he gets mitzvah points for getting a Jew to say the blessing. And I think some of the theology is if all the Jews keep Shabbat, on one Shabbat then Moshiach will come. But, so what can we take from that is there really is, in some ways, there is an ulterior motive, but really there isn't. It's about what is happening right now. He wants me to shake that lulav and etrog right now because it brings something into the world in his imagination. But we know that it could, even for us, to do that. And I think that sometimes, and again, this is not us necessarily, this is a product of the structures that we inherited. We don't lead enough with the in the moment, and we lead too much with the what will this do for the organization or community down the line. And so I was thinking about this in the context of what does this conference do for us as a movement? And obviously, I've got an ulterior motive, and I'll get to that in point number 2, but point number 1 is, in the moment, I hope you had a really profound, impactful, meaningful, and connective experience with people who are like-minded and frankly love each other. I don't know if the word love has come up yet, but there's love here, and that is awesome. So thank you for that answer. And now for my second ulterior motive answer is yes. We, in doing the breakout sessions, we had 2 tracks, and frankly, I don't know how well the different programs fit into these different tracks of celebrating culture versus advancing the movement. I think all the sessions did both of those, right? We're celebrating Jewish culture, and culture, as Sherwin Wine defined it, which is all-encompassing of Judaism, and all of it can advance the movement. Connecting to rock and rollers who were Jewish might be somebody's entry point into, and still are, some of them. It's an entry point that might work for somebody, and we can use that to advance the movement, even though for some folks it might just be about celebrating culture. So some of you came to this conference knowing you were a leader in our movement. And some of you may have come just because it seemed like a good conference. And I am now anointing you a leader in our movement. Everybody here is a leader in our movement. And whatever it is you can do, whether it's if you go back to your community and write something up that you put in your community newsletter, or even, even if possible, in your local Jewish or local secular newspaper. If you can write about it, if you're comfortable writing, that would be great. If you're comfortable just telling 5 people about what happened here this weekend, who may only be loosely connected to our movement, that would be great. And the reason why this would be good is not just because we need you, and we do need your help. It's also because they need you. They being the people who are perhaps drifting in their lives and would benefit from more meaning, or the they who might be moved by a Jewish holiday celebration that they haven't experienced in years or perhaps ever, because they have moved away from what they thought was the only expression of Jewish religiosity, and that we can provide an alternative for them. Or the they who are trying to figure out how to pass on their Jewish identity to their kids and do it in an authentic way that feels intellectually honest. There are so many people whose lives can be benefited by humanistic Judaism. And benefiting the lives of others, we know, will also enrich our own well-beings. So we started out this conference on Friday night by lighting a symbolic candle, and it was just a few of us who lit that candle. And we were thinking in planning the conference that it would be a really lovely symbolism to then do that again, but this time pass that same flame to each of you who are holding a candle. And then we thought about building codes and fire risk. But I came up with this idea. Nowadays, as we also experienced on Friday, nobody has a lighter anymore. So when you go to conferences, people hold up their phones. Now, I happen to have downloaded a candle app. And look. A lighter app? Okay, a lighter or a candle app. And I'd like to ask Rabbi Jeremy, to come up and lead us in our national anthem, our movement's national anthem. And if you want to hold up and write, Greg was talking about how much we're slaves to our technology, but you don't have to rise, but you can all rise.
Greg already left, so it's okay.
A for re, o re, be. A for tippati, tippati, be. A for kofi, kofi, be. Vegamba, vegamba. A for kofi, kofi, be. Vegamba, vegamba, where is my light? My light is in me. Where is my hope? My hope is in me. Where is my strength? My strength is in me. And in you, and in you. Where is my strength? My strength is in me, and in you, and in you.
Thank you, everybody. Safe travels home, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much.